do.
Join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Call the meeting to order, and first item on the agenda is public comment. I see some public here. That's for later.
I come bearing gifts, I don't care.
Yeah, go right ahead. If you have something to present.
Well, we made a deal with you that we paid you $150,000 for the building, and then when we take over or go move in, we'll give you some more.
Okay.
We're making good progress with the building. I saw
Yeah.
the other day.
Is the check made out to me? That's just.
I think it's got my name on it.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Jack.
And we look forward to having that building used to good effect. So,
Yeah. So we're gonna try.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, don't try to do it.
Yeah.
What's our estimated date of that being completed that we now know?
I'd be happy to give that quarterly report.
Okay.
So I'll give this to our
Okay,
chief financial officer.
thank you.
Wonderful. As long as you'll stay in town, we're okay.
I'll try.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have anything to add, or you're just here to see the
Oh,
proceedings?
I guess we've been talking to Charlie about, when we can get into paint and this and that. I think we're gonna have a tour the 22nd maybe, and
Yeah, I
Go from
think
there.
the last thing we got from the construction guy was mid-February completion,
March.
mid-March.
Not mid. Well,
If you say March, that gives you a weird window.
no, what he said was, he expects to be completed with his construction by the end of February, calling for inspections the first part of March.
Okay,
Now, what that also entails is, we can't, until we have the inspections, we can't have occupancy. But
well, we
can-
weren't worried about that. We just thought if there was a chance we could do some painting and different stuff, that is another part of our
right.
part.
So as part of that, Chuck, what I think I sent an email to all board members, which listed what the contractor, when he would have that completed. They should have the walls finished by the first part of February,
Yeah.
as I recall. But there are stages of things that have to be done. So once those walls are in and they're textured, then you'll be able to get in with painting. There still are some other components, but they're working on them. The heat is on, so that's a good thing.
I was in there today and the geothermal and the system, they were working in t-shirts in there, Chuck. Yeah, so that aspect of it is
You like it.
really, really nice, yeah.
That must
Yeah.
Instead of that furnace doing 90 miles an
That's
hour.
right, yeah. Chris was in a t-shirt today.
When you get into your turnouts and you got all the stuff on, you go in at 90 degrees.
It's always like that.
Yeah.
Of course, when you open the doors, that changes the temperature.
Okay. I see Mr. Commissioner here. Any comments?
No public comment.
Okay. Yeah, this is, that's not on the agenda here, is it?
Yes, number 4.
Okay, yeah. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. I was not here last meeting.
Where was I?
It was a pretty skinny meeting then, huh?
The rest were official, yes.
The rookies were in, okay. How'd they do? Are you ready to accept the consent agenda?
move that we accept it.
I second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we're to item number 4. the financial report, but first let's do the resolution to discontinue the PERS. Any comments on that?
So when we took over each of the two departments from the county, first mental health and then public health, one of the requirements that the state has is we have to give those former employees that are public employees an opportunity for a year to, they cannot have change in their wages, they can't have some restrictions. And if they have a retirement plan, they're allowed to stay on the PERS plan for at least a year. So in order to do that, we did that for the mental health component when we did that 4.5 years ago. Turns out no one at that time elected to stay on the PERS program. But when we took over public health a year and a half ago, there were some individuals that did elect to stay on the PERS program. We had to sign up and create an account to continue with their retirement funding. That has terminated after the year because we're not obligated beyond that. And that those employees have elected to participate in the health district retirement plan. So in order for us to terminate the PERS account, we need a board resolution. There is nobody using that account. It was set up just for access for employees that came from public health.
So we have before us Lake Health District Resolution 2020-1. Resolution to discontinue the account of public employees and retirement system.
Move that we accept that resolution and sign accordingly.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the resolution as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Okay. Now, the November financial report. Cheryl, you're on the hot seat.
So, we are looking at November, the 5th month of our new fiscal year. We had a good month. We had 344 patients in the hospital, 25 less than last month. It wasn't quite as busy, but it was still pretty busy. We're seeing pretty good growth year over year, 13% hospital patients, 150 more patients, 12% in the ED. Inpatients, surgical inpatients is a small number, one less, 5%. The last few months has been very good with surgical outpatients. It's been like an extra 10 patients for both of those months. And right at this point, we're year over year growth of 19%. Swing bed has been pretty crazy this year. That's a 47% increase. So year over year, good numbers. We continue to be very strong in our ancillary departments. The lab is up 7%, radiology 6%, rehab is up 15%. Home health is having a strong year, and the clinics are growing slowly, and the wellness has seen a decline in patients. I'm not quite sure why, but I'm working on understanding that number, and I'll let you know when I know more about it.
I've noticed that we had good gross billing months for both October and November. And so,
Good things to follow.
okay, good things should follow, yes.
Are you jumping ahead? Okay. Our gross charges for the month of November were 3.7 million. Second best month this year, second best month, maybe almost ever. Anyway, yes, a good month. Our collections on accounts receivable. Now, I gave you all an updated cash flow projection, and in the process of working on our cash flow, I came to understand I was missing some cash in the way that I gathered the information for this report. It wasn't immediately obvious to me because in the last year and a half, 2 years, we've come to get revenue from so many different sources. We're getting it from allocation payments, and when you get payments on the wellness department and you get it per member per month, it's not against your AR, but still is revenue collections. I mean, it's kind of a little confusing. So it came to me that we're missing some revenue here. So I went back, Susan and I didn't make it back to 18 yet. I'm not sure I'll change that very much, but I did update 19 and 20. So these are numbers that have grown because of the additional revenue from those sources that weren't,
So these fit
It is.
into what the actual cash that came in that month
yes,
from all sources.
Including
From all
behavioral health and all.
revenue sources.
Yeah.
Yes. Behavioral health, clinics. You remember at some point we added the Alturas Clinic, we used to count them. They used to be a separate legal entity, so they weren't part of this.
Do
So
you
they've been,
anticipate that Cerner is gonna be easier to deal with
oh
for
my God, yes.
preparing these things, because we're kind of putting these cobbled together right now?
And it makes it hard for me to explain, and it sounds a little bit, I don't know, I mean, I don't wanna seem like I'm playing the shuffle game, but that's what it is. It's very, very difficult. And eClinical doesn't give me a report that tells me you got this much cash this month, and eClinical is just, it's very difficult. And when it comes into my bank account, we have 7 bank accounts, and Tasha reconciles every single one every month, of course, to the penny. So I'm very sure that my cash on the balance sheet is correct. But the money from everywhere goes into these mainly 2 different accounts. But it's not like you can say, oh,
So
look,
this looks to the balance sheet now.
This doesn't foot to the balance, you could, but there's no number on the balance sheet that's gonna have that. The cash
Cash
flow
flow, I think,
balances to the,
your cash flow,
The beginning of the month balance should balance our balance.
right, the ending month goes to the beginning, but yeah, that number does balance, but this one won't balance. You can't really, you'll find this on there, which is, challenging. So yes, having one system will make all the difference in the world.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw that on your cash reconciliation report, the budgeted
On the,
cash flow.
yeah, I did put this on there and I was looking at it, yes, cause
Okay,
I just used it as an information, I wasn't,
okay, so
on that
changed.
report, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and this really was all driven from that cash flow. So that thing is completely updated, and then I updated this.
gotcha.
Okay, I'm sorry it's so confusing.
Well, we'll look forward. I know it's a work in progress and it's difficult to put
Yeah.
together the cobbled system. I'm just hoping that we get a better feel, a better report for the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just when we get a great report, we're gonna switch to multi-view, and we are just multi-view is go live.
It's multi-views, Cerner.
No, multi-view is GL accounting, and I guess that'll still have the same problems, because we'll still have all the disparate AR reports. But yeah, so until we're live with Cerner and multi-view is just GL accounting, and that's gonna go live first, and then Cerner April 15th.
Keep in mind that Cerner is the electronic health record. Multiview supports the billing and the GL portion.
Well, the billing is in Cerner. All the billing and the AR reports and the AR are in Cerner. And then out of that comes basically a journal entry.
Right.
You got this much revenue, you deposited this much cash, you recorded these contractuals every month. And that is like a journal entry.
But they're integrated with Cerner.
Yes, I mean, I don't know. They're interfaced. They are interfaced, yes. But that journal entry happens by itself, but whether you did it manually or, it still is a journal entry that happens.
And then Paylocity or a similar payroll program. It works with Cerner, but it is still separate.
Right, and Paylocity, we were shooting for go live with Paylocity of January, the first payroll in January, but that installation was a disaster. And so we did kind of pull the plug on that. So we're not going with Paylocity right now. And we have a meeting on Monday to decide what our next go live goal will be probably mid-February. They were not prepared. They did not do the things that they should have done to make payroll work. We ran a trial payroll and it was terrible. It was just a disaster. So we said, let's not take this risk, because all it means is we'll just have to transfer those balances that are January, to February 15th into the new system. It's not the end of the world, it's not ideal, but, so we're kind of back to square one on that piece. But Multiview and Paylocity are interfaced, and so they also.
Why did we choose Paylocity? Because it's integrated with server?
That was, it's integrated with Multiview, and that was, Multiview really pushed us in that direction. We looked at 4 or 5 different payroll HR systems, and in my mind, they were all very similar. And because Multiview is integrated with Paylocity did seem like a good choice. From your accounting department, you can drill down. If I look at a certain department, I can go all the way down to each paycheck in that department to see who I paid what in that department. So that is a pretty nifty thing. It's not the end of the world if we don't get that. But the HR and payroll team has decided, well, Paylocity really wanted us to give them another shot, and so we all collectively decided that we would do that. But we all decided that if it doesn't go extremely well, that we'll probably ditch Paylocity and go with, our second choice was Paycor. They're really kind of all the same. So
you'll know this in February.
yeah, I mean, it'll be day by day, but we're having our meeting on Monday to decide what our next go live date is. Really, the sooner the better before the first quarter ends. But if they really don't impress us, then we're gonna have to decide once again what we're gonna do. So, that's that. Okay, our days in AR dropped to 65 in November, and they're back up a little bit to 70 in December. This is a little bit normal because November and December are typically low collection months based on prior month's revenues. Our days cash on hand is at 68 now. It did go up quite a bit from October to November because we deposited $1.4 million in tax money in addition to our normal revenue. So that's for the month of November, when you look at it just alone, our revenue was about almost 2.8, it was very close to budget, just 106,000 short of budget. Our expenses were a little bit over budget. This is a loss for the month then was 124,000, we budgeted 111, so we're behind 236. But interesting enough, we're only $5,000 difference from November of 2018. And then the year-to-date numbers, our budgeted revenue is just $300,000 short of budget. Our actual revenue is short of budget, $300,000. So if you look at those, the shortage numbers on surgery, this is a very good number. Expenses are $250,000 under budget. Our net gain for the year is $434,000. Budgeted $557,000, we're behind $122,000. Prior year to date, we were at a loss of $235,000, so we're $670,000 ahead of last year at this time.
We're seeing more ortho in
Both of the
December.
Both of the orthopedists started in December. So this is November, you'll see
Does not have the,
doesn't have any. And both, when they started, each one, both Dr. Wincoop and Dr. McGillicuddy did surgery their first week. So that's a good sign.
So yeah, I would think that's just gonna grow. Okay, so our balance sheet, this is our current month. We see our cash balance has gone up a little bit and our receivable actually went up also because of the good revenue numbers. Our fixed assets went up as we continue to pay payments on the new building. And the long-term liabilities went up as a result of the borrow on the bond. So it's up by about $650,000. so really, nothing major there. So I think that's the end of the hospital, if you have any questions. Okay? Okay, Goose Lake Medical Services, starting with Lakeview Gardens, resident days. This equates to about 11 days, Long-term care had about 17 patients. In the last month, they've added several patients, and I believe that they're around 21 now. So this,
That would show up in December.
pardon?
That would show up in December.
Yes, yeah. And assisted living this is about 11 residents, and that's about where they are now. Year over year, this is an increase of 330 resident days. Long-term care revenue has been going up as we're adding residents. Assisted living is static, around the 11 patient mark. This one is 216,000, this one is 52,000 for the month. Profit and loss for the month was 250 in net revenue. That's above our average of 202. The bad thing this month is we see again a big jump in contract labor. Of course, local labor goes way down, contract labor goes way up. We actually had expenses that were very close month to month, so this month we lost about $90,000. This is kind of our goal mark right here. Year to date, we've lost 565,000, so we're 171,000 better off than we were last year at this time.
One of the things I see that we've got a reoccurring charge every month, over $10,000 of consulting and legal. You gonna get into that?
So I would think that, I'd have to go look exactly what that is. The consultant that cost us a huge amount of money, I think that is almost tapered off.
The assisted, we had to have for the assisted living to get started. It was a state mandate requirement. Until we went through our first approved inspection. So I'm not sure what the other.
Maybe you can get back to us.
I will, I'll look at it, it doesn't stick out to me, so I'll let you know what it is. Okay. And then Lake Health Medical Supply, I am not exactly sure what's going on. Revenue did drop quite a bit in November. So because of that revenue number, they had a loss of $5,000.
This has been a lost whole year, and last year it was making money. And I guess my question is have we looked at limiting using hours or something if this continues, because this is losing money every month?
We blamed it on the new system for 3 or 4 months, and that should have been,
And now
it should have been
it's
right now.
Well, now
Maybe we need to address,
it's not the system.
right.
So a couple things, the manager has submitted his resignation, so we're in the process of looking for a replacement. We're going to look for a different kind of person for that position. A lot of what we do in the medical supply is provide oxygen service. And the principal reason for getting into this business is because the companies that were delivering service were not able to be very helpful for our community. And it's predominantly oxygen. So we're looking to hire a respiratory therapist to manage the business.
But if over time we can't turn this, I think we need to look at reducing hours or something like that.
Absolutely.
At a later time or something, or we're still providing the service to the community, but it needs to turn around.
It does. So we're aware of this.
And can I throw in about Cerner a little bit, because Steven's not here, is that right?
You got the floor.
So Stephen Vance, our IT director, is not here tonight because I think his brain is fried. We did have, we had 30 people in this room just a few hours ago, 30 people from Cerner and about 40 people from Lake Health District all week long, all day, every day, and they were testing the new system. So there's a lot of fried people at Lake Health today. But it was Susan's one of them. It was very successful. There was a real high energy level. It was very positive. We identified a lot of problems, but that is the point of the whole exercise. It was a very successful week, and I just wanted to let you know, we gave you the latest Cerner serial. We'll be doing the follow-up, the billing portion next week on the IT testing to take that now from medical record charting into billing to see how that's gonna work. We do this a total of 3 times. So the first time is supposed to be challenging, and it was, but I think that was also very successful.
So we self-publish this, right?
Yeah.
Because we used to have a newsletter and then it kind of
Oh,
died out.
Made a newsletter and Kristen moved to that.
That's the HR director.
No, Kristen Hill worked in, she was working at that time in home health, and she was really good at that. She's been since she's come back, she spent the first year working with the disaster unit and us as a shared employee to try and work on ways to work together. And then she now is acting as a case manager in the acute center. So she hasn't had time.
Carol, I noticed in the hallway, there's a timeline for Cerner. Are we on track?
absolutely. Yeah, we're on track, and Charlie gets a monthly update from Cerner and Multiview to let him know where we're on track and where we might have any troubles. We still have many weekly meetings on different topics with different groups. And yes, I would say that Cerner is pretty happy with our progress and the quality and the quantity of the work that our staff is doing.
It's a very stressful time because it means you not only look at how a new software program works, but it means you challenge the process with which you do things. And just looking at that takes a lot of energy. And if you make one move, it has ripple effects on lots of other things. And so you want to make sure that everyone is aware of the ripples. So
But the joy is we're finding these things now instead of when we go live with the software. So, and it is increasing the collaboration amongst our department, even if they don't enjoy it.
Okay.
That's-
Looks like medical,
We did that already.
okay? Yeah, okay.
She just kept rolling.
I got ahead of myself there. Now I'm behind. The construction projects.
okay, so we have a couple things that are going on. First, we'll start off with the work that's being done in the long-term care and assisted living. So the project's finished 2 years ago. We have continued to have frozen pipes. And those frozen pipes have occurred from pipes that are inside the building. So the architects and the contractors worked diligently this summer to try and figure it out. They came up with a plan after everyone was busy pointing fingers at who was responsible for it. The process, what they're doing is they're tenting some of the installation. That is being completed. It was supposed to have been finished before Christmas. They assured me it will be completed by tomorrow.
Are they freezing right now?
They are not freezing right now. It's cooler outside, and one of the things that, you think you have it fixed until the pipes freeze because it got cold. It hadn't gotten really cold yet. We discovered the problem last November, December, here in 2018, when it got really cold. And so they've been addressing them. So they think they will have that finished. So that's a real positive thing. Moving to the clinics. We had a problem with our door frames. We've talked about this time and again. Those door frames are completed as of Monday. They replaced the original door frame or they put a sleeve on, depending on which area it was, in both the rural health clinic as well as the specialty clinic. So that's completed and they continue to, while they're here working on the gardens, to make sure that there aren't any dings, there aren't any problems, and we'll be satisfied. The last part of that portion are the windows. Now, when the windows were all, we replaced all the windows throughout the clinics. And when the windows arrived, as the contractor was installing them per their manufacturer's specifications, they started having trouble with some of the beading on the windows insulation facing on the west side. Contractor brought the manufacturer out and they actually held up, you may recall, for a long time we didn't finish the siding because they were making sure that the windows were either going to get pulled out and replaced or the manufacturer was going to stand by. It wasn't clear. What we expect to have happen is maybe next summer, but for the life of those windows, the manufacturer is responsible and they negotiated to make the contractor to have the manufacturer pay to take the windows, not just replace the windows, now you have to take the siding off when you replace the windows. And the labor to do that and reinstall the windows. So that's the only outstanding issue.
When's that supposed to happen?
When the windows break or the beading breaks down. And they think they've addressed the ones on the west side, but remember, that's where the greatest heat is. It could be on the north, south, or east side. Not sure. But it's warranty for 20 years, so we'll see what happens on that. You'll begin to start seeing new signs. We've talked about this for some time. We had hoped to install them when we finished the clinics, and we were waiting on better weather and getting that all done. So far, the two new signs that we have is the one out front of the clinic and the one out front of the EMS building. So those are the two new signs. And then the signs out front of the hospital will be replaced when the weather is right and they can do it on a weekend. So you'll see that in the not too distant future. Okay?
Will the EMS one be lit as well, Charlie?
It will. As part of the construction project, the contractor had to pull the wires to lamps. You haven't seen them yet, but there's posts with where lamps are going to go, and they have to pull the wires for that. We're going to put the lights. We bought the lights and lamps several years ago, and then we switched out, and now they're all going to be LED lights. So it'll be better lighting, more efficient, and it's safer for employees because that gets to be very dark when employees are going home. So we were waiting to get the ambulance location, the building itself. At one time, we thought about having the building actually closer to the helicopter, but then the ambulance group said no. They felt that being on the west side would be better for their access to stop driving, going south, access roads. So that's why we held off with putting up those lights. It will be lit, yes. You got to see the tour of the South High Street. You can see that that's been a successful completion of the project.
Yeah, make sure you relate to the crew, that was exceptional.
Well, any questions on any construction that we have? Sounds good. Okay. Oh, did you want me to give you any more specifics on when the EMS building will be completed?
Please.
So this is what the contractor told us and told me last Friday, and that they should be finished. Well, they're series of things, but they should be finished by the end of February. Darrell Anderson thinks that they're conservative. We'll see what happens.
Is there more paving to do around it, et cetera?
No, in terms of landscaping, they'll wait to landscape that area until the weather's better. So they prepared for putting in sleeving for sprinkling systems and that sort of thing, but they're gonna wait until the weather is to the spring.
You got the concrete aprons in.
Yes, yes. So I think we've poured about as much. We probably are going to relocate one of the lampposts because it was too close. It is located too close to the sign. That adds extra light. We'll be closer down toward the fuel tank. But other than that, I don't think we have any big earth moving issues. Most of it's internal. Any other question?
Just thank the EMS group for the contribution. Appreciate that. Should get a big write-up in the paper about that. Okay. Just saying.
Just saying.
I don't see Dr. Gallagher here, so Charlie, are you handling the medical staff update?
So we had, thought we would have some. We did not have any privileging approvals done that are for your review and consideration.
Okay.
So that's why Dr. Gallagher, who was taking care of sick patients, and I will be here.
Okay. Appreciate that. Okay, final agenda item is the CEO report.
So a couple things. We, as you may have seen in some of the news, and we've talked about this over time, the auxiliaries have notified us that because of some health issues in some of the members and just the ability of members to continue, they have reluctantly given back the gift shop to us to manage. They are going to continue to volunteer where they can, where individuals can, to support that. So,
When is that effective?
as of the end of last year or so.
December 31st.
So we're in the process of we'll be advertising an interview for a person to manage that clinic, or that gift shop. We will also consider the option of whether or not we will keep it at its current location, or if we will move it. We'll look at the different options, we'll bring that to the board as we come up with solutions. I'm pleased to say that we have a new human resources director who started yesterday. That was a challenge for her to get here. She got here sort of, she was going to start on Monday, but unfortunately our moving van broke down, and they had to unload her van, give her a different van, and help her on her way. So fortunately, she got here before the big snows that are predicted to come tomorrow. Yeah, so Rebecca Farr is her name, and she started yesterday.
Where does she come from?
Comes from the great state of Montana, and was working at a critical access hospital there with a attached long-term care facility, so has a lot of similar kinds of experience and understands the environment that we face.
So the snow shouldn't bother her.
It would impact any one of us if the vehicle broke down the same way. She was pretty pleased that she got here and seemed to be all good experience.
How was the last name?
Farr, F-A-R-R.
No relation to the West Side Farms?
Sam Farr.
I can't speak to that. I don't think so. She's originally hails from the great state of Missouri. But she and her husband moved to Montana. As Commissioner Williams is here, probably should address an issue that came up that's been talked about in the press, and that is related to North Lake and our involvement in North Lake. Let me just make sure that you understand that this is we've talked about this in various times, but to recap. Whenever a health district, per state ordinance, provides service in a designated area, if it is going to provide service outside of its environment, it has to have permission from another health district. When we took over the management of the mental health services 4.5 years ago from the county, I went to, on behalf of Lake Health District, to North Lake Health District and asked for permission. And granted,
You said it was a Picture Rock Pass, where the
Picture Rock Pass is the northernmost portion of our responsibility as Lake Health District, and then everything else south. North of that is where North Lake Health District is, and it encompasses Christmas Valley and so it's in Fort Rock, and that area. North Lake Health District does not have a hospital. It has a building that it rents out to clinics. And it rents to Lapine Health Clinic, and then they have the rest of their building. So we asked for approval to provide mental health services, and they granted that. A year and a half ago, I went into the board again and asked for permission to provide public health services when we took over that responsibility. We're still in the process of obtaining that approval. They want to think about it. They also asked if we would rent space from them in their building to provide mental health services.
That's a different building than the county building.
So the county building is located across the parking lot from North Lake Health District's building. And when we took over mental health, we rented the space for a fee. And then when we took over public health, we again rented from the county for that space. And we pay a rental fee to the county for use of that space. We are in negotiations with North Lake Health District for the rental of their space. Have not come to terms on that. The issue that North Lake brought, or the chair of the board of North Lake brought to the county commissioners was an issue of contractual rates. He felt that he needed commissioner support to finalize the negotiations. Disappointed that it didn't approach us. We're in the discussions, and so we hope to resolve that. It was unfortunate there were some statements made that are misleading. One of the allegations is that we have not been delivering services for mental health services in North Lake. And that is unfortunately misguided. We have been delivering service in North Lake for quite some time. And so I think maybe it was misunderstood in some of the language that it wasn't a lot of service in that building, but we're across the parking lot. So the community is being served. It continues to be difficult to hire people to work there. When the county had the responsibility, they were sending someone driving the 4 hours each day, 2 hours up and back, to provide service. Yes. I don't think that's a really good use of therapists' time, and it doesn't really serve the public. We are looking constantly to hire more people. it's hard to find people that are capable. We are getting close to having an agreement with the school district in North Lake to jointly allow one of their teachers to become a therapist. So we're in discussions on it. We'll see how that moves. Any questions related to that item specifically?
Could add a little bit of my experience. Play us on for many years, and there was a big emphasis to get them co-located with the clinic, because lots of times the individual in need may have both mental health and physical. So it's nice to have that integration across. Also, the county annex building with the mental health, it used to be an old residence, so the acoustic is not there really for good people things. So it's been ongoing for many years to get some co-location for the physical and mental health. That's what Charlie's working on. Get coming up, get that agreement.
Right. So we're working. And hopefully we can get the matters resolved. Any other questions?
You have a question? Just to add a little bit from the county's perspective, we had this brought before our board with very little warning or understanding of exactly what the nature of the discussion was going to be from their chair, from the North Lake Health District. We as a county feel that the hospital, that the health district here is doing a wonderful job. And we also believe that mental health services are being provided on the north end of the county at a very sufficient standard. We just want to make sure that that's clear. And I've been charged by my board to come and represent the county and wave the county flag to a certain extent to make sure that that's clear. And if any of the board here has any questions, we're more than willing to answer them. It's a little bit of a shame, as Charlie pointed out, that they did not come to you with whatever grievances or misunderstandings that they had. We actually even stated that in our meeting, that they really should have gone to you rather than come to our board meeting to discuss a contract that they had with Lake Health District. It was probably an inappropriate, or it would have been more appropriate for them to be dealing directly with you. And so out of respect for your board, we wanted to make sure that that was made clear as well.
So I just want to make sure that I did get a letter, November 22, dated October 7, saying that they had a demand for money. So,
For rent or for, what was the thing?
it was for rent. So, if you want me to go through all the details, I'd be happy to, otherwise I can deal with that. Which would you prefer?
It's a contractual matter that I think is better left for you to deal with. Then if you run into a problem with the contractual matter, then you come to us.
Absolutely.
Good.
But I have been notified that I had received a letter prior to your meeting.
And that letter was actually discussed in our meeting as well. And that was about the point when we said, you're probably with the wrong books. So, yeah. No, and we feel that this is something that should be worked out between the health districts and with Charlie, and if they are having trouble working with Charlie for whatever reason, if Carl Shumway can't work with them, they shouldn't be working with them. So,
Good. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your.
very well.
Appreciate you coming down and spending time with us tonight.
Yes.
Hope you get back before it really snows.
One thing I actually failed to do under my construction report, I need to bring up. One of the agreements that we had was that the EMS unit needed to put in a special washing machine, It's a very expensive machine, and that they would acquire that independently. As part of getting that, they have to have it wired and have electrically the actual installation and put in the freight and extra costs. What Daryl Anderson asked me to do is to have it included as a change order with the construction project, because Kinsman would do the work. Disaster unit said it would pay the cost, but if we put it as a change order of the project, then the entire cost of this would be included in our warranty. So I agreed to that. And that cost is an additional $5,940. So that brings our total cost for building the building to $1,412,560. It's a technical process, but I didn't want you to be unaware of it. So it's,
That's not, that includes the washer.
no. That is just that includes the freight to Lakeview. It's to supply and install the Groves extractor washer.
How much is that washer, you know?
I think it is $5,000, $6,000 or something.
So this is for the washer itself?
Well,
I thought it was just the well, either way, if it is for the washer and the installation, it's now then covered under the total warranty, which makes it easier if there's a problem in a year.
Okay.
And that's really what it's designed to do. Okay,
Protects us and the EMS.
that's correct. Right. And we want to have the construction warranty include everything that we can. So I failed to let you know that change. Okay? Next Wednesday, January 15th, 2 o'clock here, is an opportunity for you, if you would like. You may recall new members you don't necessarily, but the health district supported a new blood mobile through the American Red Cross in the amount of $10,000. This was several years ago while the van was being built. The old van was in dire need of replacing. They discovered that they had forgotten to thank us for that $10,000 donation. So next Wednesday, 2 o'clock, they'll be here to thank us officially. If you are available,
Be here or be at the office?
it's here.
Here.
It's here.
Okay.
They're coming here.
So, I don't know if they're driving, I don't know if they're driving their van here or they're coming here as the leadership of the American Red Cross.
Just roll up your sleeve and be ready to give one.
That would be good. That would be good. We talked a little bit about Dr. McGillicuddy and Dr. Wincoop. They're the orthopedic surgeons. Our goal is to have them not quite every other week have a surgeon here. It'll be close to that. We're still working out schedules, and as is often the case, surgeons are in conferences or in different things in their as they practice their so we won't have an orthopedic surgeon here every week, but quite a bit.
Would they be available also for general surgery?
They'll be doing orthopedic surgery. Doctors Chang and Doctors Bradbury will be continuing to be our general surgeons.
Okay.
So it's pretty exciting for us. A lot of times we are unfortunately in a position where we have to ship patients out for procedures, and a lot of that is orthopedic that we could provide here. And it is very, very expensive for people to fly out, as you know. So we're excited about that. Those are my comments.
Okay.
Any questions or anything that you would like to know about that we have addressed?
Questions or issues? Seeing nothing, do we have anything for you? Okay. So we'll go into executive session under ORS 190.